Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the Landmarks Committee meeting of Manhattan Community Board 5. My name is Kevin Frizz, and I'll be your chair for this meeting. We had 4 applications on the agenda tonight, but one had to drop out at the last second, so we only have 3. After the agenda will go in the following order. After each applicant's full presentation, we'll take questions from the committee. The Landmarks Committee will then ask questions of the applicant. We'll then take public comments if there are any, and then we'll have committee discussion. After committee discussion, the Landmarks Committee will vote on a resolution. And then at the next full board meeting, that resolution will be put to a vote. And that vote will become the official position of Community Board 5. And at the very end of the meeting, we'll take new business. So the 3 items on our agenda tonight are Central Park Conservancy, 1181 Broadway, I believe is here in person, which is great, and 25 East 21st Street. We'll go in order that they're listed on the website. So that starts with Central Park Conservancy. Are you all online?
Yes, I believe we are.
Yes.
Yep.
You're welcome to get.
Great. All right. So hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for having us. Diane is sharing her screen. I'm here with my colleagues from the Central Park Conservancy, Harriet Provine, Bob Rumsey, Diane Jackier-Kestenbaum, who will be presenting on our project at Conservatory Water for restoration of the basin, accessible pathwork, and the boathouse. We can go to the next slide. I'm sure most people are familiar with this area in the park, but just to show here on a map, it's between East 72nd Street, right off of 5th Avenue. This is a large area of the park. We're approaching this as a program of work that's comprised really of 3 projects, the boathouse, the basin, and the landscape. Go to the next slide. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the area that's in the dashed line. So, you know, the boathouse and the basin, as I mentioned, but also the landscape that is within this line. And then the next slide, we're going to be coming back to you in the very near future for our plans for the remaining piece of this landscape here. And then the next slide. Goals for the project, as we do, we have 3. Of course, there's rehabilitation, restoring the building exterior, basin, and the landscape in a manner that's consistent with the historic park. Access for all, which is accessibility. This is an area of the park that does not have an accessible way to experience the program. So through this project, we're going to be doing site work that Bob will review to create accessibility to the model sailboat pond and to the building, the restrooms, and for the concession that is there. And then finally, environmental stewardship. Through this work, upgrading the systems in the building, and then our landscape work in the area. So I'm going to turn it over to Diane, who's going to take us through a few slides with the history of this area. Diane?
Thank you, Sandy. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. I'm sorry for not turning on my camera, just trying to save some bandwidth, but I'm going to just quickly go over some fun history slides related to Conservatory Water in this area of the park. So as you can see in this 1873 Bogart map, this was what was built from Olmsted and Vaux's design. Conservatory Water was a large water basin that was built for a proposed conservatory that was actually never built. So you can see that in this red sort of funny looking shape here. It says proposed conservatory. And they actually went so far as to design what that glass conservatory would look like, but it was not ever constructed. But thankfully the basin was. And really from its initial construction, the basin has been an incredibly popular model boating area. The sport gained popularity in London and Paris in the 1830s and came to New York, coming to both Central Park and Prospect Park in the mid 1800s. And we can see some great photos here and these huge boats. I'm always amazed every time I see them how big those boats are. And because the boats were so big, they were hard to get in and out of the park. There was a small boathouse that was built to store the boats. We think this was built as early as 1908. We don't know the exact details, but the boathouse did burn down sometime in the 1940s or early 1950s. And what happened was there was a new master plan created for this area of the park. It was focusing on water and children's recreation. And so that master plan really specified a larger boathouse to be built in the same location where the small boathouse had existed, a small concession kiosk, and 2 sculptures. So that's how we have Alice in Wonderland and Hans Christian Andersen. Much of the work was funded by donors solicited by Robert Moses, and one of those donors was Jean Kerb. She's seen here on the dais with Robert Moses. This is at the building dedication in 1954. Jean Kerb had donated the money in honor of her parents who lived on Fifth Avenue in the 70s, and they loved watching the boats on the conservatory water pond from their window. So really, when the building was built, the program remains very similar to what it is today. There is a model boathouse area in the center. There are restrooms to the south and a concession building on the north. And so the area remains, of course, a beloved area of the park. And I'm going to hand it over to Bob to go in a little bit more detail about what we're proposing.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is a view of what the site looks like today, looking across the basin toward the boathouse. Next. This is the site plan we'll refer to for the remainder of the presentation. It's been rotated from what Sandy showed. So just for orientation, Fifth Avenue is along the bottom of the page and the 72nd Street entrance is on the left. The basin is really the heart of this landscape, and the area is largely defined as parkland, which means it's simply lawn with large areas of shaded canopy cover from the trees. Next. We've broken the presentation down into 3 different components to talk about the scopes for each work. The first is the basin. Next. This is a view of the existing basin drained in the winter. You can see the bottom is very broken and in disrepair. It leaks quite a bit, and it has not been restored in quite some time. Next. The basin is composed of 3 different wall materials, and here we are showing the 3 vintages of the walls. On the left is the masonry stone block, which we believe may be the original. In the middle, the concrete walls that were constructed in the late 1920s that comprise the majority of the basin. And on the right, this is the Conservancy's restoration around 2000 that include partial replacement of some of the 1929 walls and replacement of the granite coping, which matched the original. Next, this plan view shows the highlights where each of the wall type is located in the basin. So the blue are the historic block walls. The yellow are the late 20s concrete walls. And the red or pink are the walls repaired by the Conservancy in 2000. Our plan is to replace the 1929 concrete walls, install a new basin bottom, reuse the existing granite coping, and waterproof and seal the entire basin structure. Next. So these are views from around the basin itself, which is a very active space, has a very wide path with benches, lighting, and shade trees. Next. In the view on the left, you can see the basin water level is very low. It should be really up to the bottom of the coping. The basin is leaking, and it's quite hard to maintain the water levels. This makes it difficult to facilitate sailing the boats, as they really want to be up at the highest level to capture the wind. Next, Diane. So this is the existing plan of the site. It's a plan showing the area around the basin that will be reconstructed as part of the project outlined in the dashed line. The benches, the light poles, and the surrounding path will all get upgrades. Next. In the proposed plan, which is a very, very subtle difference here, but our work will include reorganizing the benches to create accessible seating, which is lacking now, while maintaining the symmetrical layout around the basin. The wood and concrete benches that exist will change to 1939 World's Fair design. And we'll be respacing and increasing the park lighting to achieve greater lighting levels. Again, honoring the symmetry. The path will be regraded and repaved for accessibility, and we'll bring it inward just a few feet to create a closer relationship to the benches, for the benches to the water and to alleviate impacts to mature trees. And there will be drainage infrastructure improvements. Next. Now we'll talk a little bit about the landscape work around the project. That'll be part of this first phase of the project. Next. This view is from near the East 76th Street entrance with Fifth Avenue on the left, looking south into the site, showing what this landscape typically looks like, and what the conditions of the path are as they approach downward to the boathouse and basin. Next. The area that will first undergo construction as part of the boathouse and basin work includes the area that is highlighted in green on the plan. We have a few photos that we're going to share with you that are identified on the plans with the white numbered arrow markers. Next. This is a view as you enter the park from East 76th Street at Fifth Avenue. The path is fairly accessible and is a good way to get down to the boathouse and basin. However, it is a little steep and will require adjustments to make it fully accessible. Next. At the other end of the site, if you were entering at East 72nd Street, the paths into the site are very steep. In the view on the left, there's a 26-foot elevation change shown from the top of the hill down to the basin level. There were steps here at one point that have been removed. And the view on the right is a second path going downhill, which is just to the left of the one shown, the other path shown, containing steps. This path will be dealt with in the later phase, which will be coming back to you in the for the future. The takeaway here is that the landscape is just too steep to create an accessible path down to the site. Next. So in order to create an accessible path down to the basin and the boathouse and its programs, we're proposing an accessible route that comes in from the East 76th Street entrance. What you're seeing in blue is the path that will be fully accessible. And the areas in purple are path locations where we will have handrails and landings. And when we come back to you for the larger conversation about the rest of the landscape, we'll be presenting proposals for other accessible routes into the site from the west, which is at the top of the page. Next. And this is a photo to show you what the accessible ramps will look like that we're proposing. This is one we just completed to create accessibility to the Delacorte Theater and the Delacorte Public Restroom. And next. And last, there are quite a few drinking fountains in the area, which is a great amenity. We're modernizing and upgrading them to make them fully accessible. And the new locations are shown in blue. They'll be located adjacent to paths. And we're adding a new one at the entrance, East 72nd Street entrance. And that's it for mine. I'll now hand it off to my colleague Harriet to talk about the boathouse and terrace scope.
Hi, so next slide. So this is a zoom in of the existing boathouse. It hasn't undergone a significant restoration since its construction in the 1950s, besides some minor restoration work that was done in the 90s to address the terrace and some of the interior of the restrooms. Next slide. This is the existing terrace plan. So the building has a lot of programming in a small amount of area with the restrooms, boathouse, and concessionaire. And the terrace has some flexible programming with sometimes chairs and tables being put out by the concessionaire. Next slide. So we did a full existing conditions report of the building with our partners on this project, Lee Salzman Architects and Iliad Architects. And we had some good findings. So one of that being that the existing copper roof is in very good condition and really will only require cleaning and some flashing repairs. Next slide. Similarly, the masonry is in pretty good condition. There's some repair work that is required, like displaced bricks and cracking. And part of the work we're doing is to remove the ahistoric grills that are at the windows that you can see in the center image. Next slide. This is the model boathouse. The programming here will basically remain the same. It houses both Rock the Boat concessionaire as well as the Model Yacht Club. Next slide. So this is the existing boiler room. So we're upgrading the facility to all electric. And as part of that, scope change, we'll also be able to expand the women's restroom, which is on this side of the building. Next slide. So the existing restrooms are quite small. So each one only has one sink, and there's 2 urinals and a stall for the men's and 3 stalls for the women's. And both of them are too small to have a baby changing station. And next slide. This is on the concessionaire side of the space, and there just isn't enough space for the concessionaire to operate. So there's a lot of ad hoc containers at this side of the site, which clutter up this space, as well as there's this picket wood fence that you can sort of see in the front that's surrounding the whole area, which causes a big visual impact on the north side of the site. Next slide. And the terrace has some issues in terms of accessibility. Specifically, the bluestone is old and in need of replacement, as well as some significant repairs required at the terrace walls. Next slide. This is the existing plan. So you can see it's a very difficult and inefficient plan because on the concession side of the space, the men's room actually cuts into the concession space, making circulation difficult and is a difficult layout for the concessionaire. The women's room side of the space has a lot of space taken up by the boiler room and storage area. Next slide. So our proposal is essentially to make a more efficient space by moving the men's restroom to the south end of the site into a new addition. So this new addition would allow for both the men's room and women's room to essentially double the amount of fixtures in each. It also allows space to provide a family gender-neutral restroom. The concessionaire space, it'll be a symmetrical plan, and the concession space has much more operating space, which will allow for there not to be any outside containers on the space. And the goal is to remove any visual clutter. Next slide. The terrace restoration includes replacing all the bluestone paving to restore a historic 1950s bluestone paving pattern. Also restoring some of the planter layouts that were from the 1950s pattern, replacing all the benches to match the 1939 historic World's Fair benches, and doing repair work on the terrace walls. Also, we're adding green roofs to the floor flat roofs on the building, and that will help us achieve sustainability goals, as well as enhance the view from Fifth Avenue looking down at the boathouse. Next slide. So part of why this project is important to us is because the Curbs Boathouse is one of 7 inaccessible public restrooms in Central Park. The rest of the restrooms have either been updated by Parks or the Central Park Conservancy to be made accessible. You can see actually Conservatory Water is located in the Lower East Side of the park, which is an area without any accessible restrooms very nearby. So by making these restrooms accessible and enlarging them, we're actually servicing a much larger part of the park and not just the terrace. Next slide. And this is a rendering of what we're hoping it looks like. So there's really, the fenestration is mostly being replaced in kind with a few minor alterations, such as these 2 lit windows at the front, which are being converted from the existing doors. And those will have a glazing pattern that matches the larger windows that are already on the building. And also a door that's being installed on the back of the women's side of the restroom that you can't see. So the restroom area is going to have a canopy as a form of wayfinding, which will be in the same historic material, so copper, patinated copper, as the existing copper roof. And the glazing is going to be etched or textured or frosted at private areas like the restrooms, and clear vision glass at the model boathouse. We're also going to be salvaging and restoring this decorative metal door, and doing full restorative work throughout. The new addition in the back has the same language as the existing brick with an all brick facade and slightly different size of the brick, but the color matching the existing brick, as well as the level of the roof matching. So next slide. So that's the end of our presentation. So we're just ending on an overall plan of the site, so that we can open up to questions if there's any questions. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. We'll now open it up to members of the committee. Anyone want to get started? Sorry.
Regarding the bluestone replacement, are you picking up all the existing bluestone and replacing it, re-leveling, or is it being completely replaced with all brand new bluestone?
I can answer that. It'll be replaced with new bluestone. Much of it is cracking and delaminating. It's quite old, so it does need to be replaced in kind with new.
Oh, thank you.
Just wanted to ask about the waterproofing. You know, what mechanism you'd be using some formaldehyde for the basin? Just curious.
Oh boy, that's a good question. It's we're still actually kind of working through that detail, but it'll be different in various parts of the basin given the different kinds of walls. So part of it will be an integral system into the concrete. There will be waterproofing on the backside of the walls. On the existing block walls that are remaining, there will be some sort of coating that needs to occur over those. So that's the level of detail I understand. Like I said, we're kind of working through it with our engineers, but it's actually quite complex.
No, it sounds like it with the different surfaces.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know.
Sorry to interrupt you. The intent is visually that you'll see the concrete walls. That won't change. We'll maintain that integrity of the aesthetic.
It's good to know. Thank you.
More questions? Well,
Can you speak more to any interior changes? Because the rendering of the exterior, I feel like that was very thorough, and I feel like that was helpful for me to understand what that would look like. And I obviously can understand like the layout changes, but like, are there potential changes around like materials internally, like on the interior side, like are beyond the layout changes, I guess? Like, are there other things that you might be considering that we haven't had a chance to review?
Well, the inside of the model boathouse pretty much isn't changing that much because it's a large open space with open brick walls, and we want to maintain that. The restrooms where there'll be, pretty standard restroom finishes. What's there now is from the 1990s. So there's tile wall and tile floor, and we'll either have tile wall and tile floor or maybe terrazzo floor. That hasn't been fully finalized. A lot of the interior finishes haven't been fully finalized, but we're also planning on the concessionaire side to have a fully fitted out kitchen and freezer. So instead of what's there now, which is they have like a trailer with a freezer and a few different storage containers around, everything will just be inside the building with access, interior access and access out to the terrace. So those are sort of the main interior changes. The model boathouse essentially will still be an open space with programming for boat storage. That's more flexible. I don't know if that answers your question. But.
Yeah, I think that's all.
more questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Is that Gene? Go ahead.
Yes, I have actually a few questions. So once everything is approved, when do you plan to start?
I can take that question. Obviously we know this is a very beloved area of the park, so we are trying to minimize the amount of time that it's offline to the public.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, we anticipate starting on the basin this fall. And we'll still, while that work happens, the building will be able to remain open, the bathrooms and the concession. And then sometime early next year, we intend to start the boathouse, the building, and then that landscape. And so then the entire program will be offline for the 2027 season. And we are targeting to finish in late spring, early summer, so that there is still the 2028 season for this area.
So we're looking at about 2 years?
No, it's really, I mean, for if you're just looking at the season for the model boat, it's just the one season for the model boat. And then I guess, let's say in total, if you start from when the basin starts this fall, it's a little over, it's about a little over a year and a half.
So the whole thing's about a year and a half,
Mhm.
right? Give or
Yeah.
take. And as far as the little boathouse, the house, I think
Mhm.
right now it's a restaurant. I think they sell like hot coffee in there, or like hot chocolate, stuff like that, right? That's going to be closed down completely, right?
In the boathouse, in the model boathouse, yeah, the Le Pan Quotidien
Right,
concession.
right.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, yes,
That's what it
yes,
was.
yeah.
And then when you mentioned there are going to be benches that will be replaced, they're going to add any more benches?
We're generally keeping the same number, which it's pretty maxed out around that basin. We're definitely keeping. We're not diminishing. We're not losing any benches. We might be adding a few, but it's generally what's there.
If
And
you
we
would, yeah, if you
yeah.
would consider adding a few benches, I think would be appreciated.
You're
And as
referring
far-
to around the basin?
around the basin, even by the maybe by the boathouse, just more seating.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. It's an amazing area. And by the way, I love the presentation. And you guys, I could see that you guys are passionate about it and you spend some time doing it. And it's one of my favorite areas in the park. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a funny story. We have a little family tradition that I take my kids to the basin, and we climb up on the Hans Christian Andersen statue, and we put a penny in his ear, in the cavity of his ear, and we make a wish. Okay, and I said to my kids, if you climb up on the statue and you put a penny inside his ear and you make a wish, it's going to come true this week. So whatever they wish for, toys, whatever, I go and I get them and I bring it home, right? So, and since then they've been climbing up on the statue and putting a penny in his ear. I don't know what's happening to the penny. Somebody's taking them, but as far as they think, when you put a penny inside Hans Christian Andersen's ear, a wish comes true. So. I also appreciate the fact that you said it's a beloved spot, and you'll try to keep it offline as least as possible. But it's really a very special location, and if you could put some more benches there, that would be greatly appreciated. And as far as the bathrooms, this is my last question. Are they currently handicap accessible?
It's complicated because the rooms themselves are accessible. There's a handicap stall and 2 stalls, but there's no accessible route to get there, and the terrace itself is not accessible. So it's not really an accessible restroom if there's no way to get there, without other transportation.
Can it become somehow handicap
Yeah,
accessible?
yeah,
Oh,
that's
we
that's
are.
the goal. Yeah.
That's part of the project. Yeah.
Okay, so my only comment would be, I mean, everything looks great. My only comment would be just to add some more benches and make it handicap accessible. Now, other than that, it's really great.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Gene. Good questions.
Yes, thank you.
Just going back to the basin itself and the walls, the original block, that you are keeping all the original, it's that middle level block that you're replacing, is that correct?
Yeah. Everything in blue that's the block wall, and we're maintaining that. That's from the original, from what we understand. Everything else has been replaced at some point, so we are removing and replacing everything else that you see in the pink and the yellow.
Okay, not the masonry original block.
Correct.
Thank you. Excellent.
Sure. Gene, I just have a couple. Gene mentioned the benches a couple times. Do you have a image of the bench by any chance? The 1939 World Fair bench?
I don't believe we do on this presentation, but
We don't
If
in
I-
this presentation.
if I could describe it to you, it's the one of our standard benches in the park that have they're wooden slats, green, and they have the circular arms at the ends.
Got it. Yep. Rings a bell. That was my basic question of whether or not it's kind of standard with the other apartment.
It is,
bench.
yeah. It is. It's actually what the kind of the appropriate bench should be in this landscape.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And then a question about the paths. I understood the part of the description about how the path, it's too steep going down into the area.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite understand how the renovation would work. Are there gonna be steps installed? Or is it just gonna be kind of regraded to make it less steep?
You're referring to, Diane, could you point to the path it's
I
actually
think
not.
it's the accessibility, yes. So
Are
the areas in purple is what we are regrading to achieve accessibility.
Got it.
Yeah,
So there won't,
we're adding, like
And
we're doing a ramp and land. This is, an accessible ramp, like this with landings and handrails in those areas.
this is what it would look like.
got it. Okay, so there won't be new steps. It'll just be kind of
No,
regraded.
no,
Okay.
correct.
And then just my last one, just on the boathouse itself, I understand a lot of it is the renovation of the restrooms, and sort of the interior layout. What would you say, this is sort of a big picture question, but from someone on the outside, what would you say is the most visually different? What part of the renovation is gonna make it look the most visually different after the renovation?
I can speak to that a little bit. So our goal is basically to keep that front elevation as historically appropriate as possible. So there's really nothing that's changing on the front facade besides removing these grills that are there that are not historic. The front door, which is now basically a metal plate over it, will have the original detailing. So we'll use, existing metal pieces that are still in place, and then use that to cast the remaining pieces so that we salvage as much as possible of the existing door. So that facade will be pretty much the same. I guess the main difference that you might be able to tell is, at least on the building, are these two windows that you can see that are lit up. So those currently are like metal doors, one to the boiler room and one to the women's restroom. And since we're relocating the access to the women's restroom in that vestibule area, these are being changed into windows. That said, I think, the windows are pretty appropriate from a scaling perspective and alignment perspective. And also, and most of the new doors will be kind of tucked away in this vestibule. The additions that are on the back of the house are actually fairly concealed because this is a really wooded area at the back of the site, and there's a high elevation change up to Fifth Avenue. There's also this awning that is for the access to the restrooms, and that's really just mostly a wayfinding thing so people know where they are. So I think those are the primary difference. And another visual difference, I would say, is on the concessionaire side of the space, which isn't rendered. It currently has all this visual clutter with the containers, which are really visible from the terrace, as well as this wood picket fence along that side. And since we're removing all of that, we'll just have the building itself somewhat exposed, that there'll still be like a retaining wall on that side, but it'll be lower. So those I would say are like the main differences. You can see the green roof will actually be quite subtle, and you'll only really see it from the street. And because it's heavily wooded, it's still pretty concealed. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. That's a great overview. In terms of the windows, the two that you had highlighted, is there another image in your presentation somewhere that kind of shows what that kind of zone looks like today?
Let's see. I'm not sure. Do we have it? Oh, there. Yeah. So it's
Got it.
basically reusing the existing opening, so not taking away any brick, that's there, and just infilling with matching brick below that matches the existing, as well as granite water base that matches the
Got it.
existing.
Just to be, those are doors currently?
Yes, there are doors, and so the boiler room door is usually closed, and then the women's room door, which is in the back, is usually propped open.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Final shot, questions? Anyone? No? John?
I guess this is more of a technical thing, like, what part of this is landmarked? For like us, like, which part of it are we seeing relative to, I assume not all of Central Park is landmarked.
It is all landmarked.
It's all landmarks.
Great.
The
whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing, yeah.
All right.
So
Great.
anything, you know, it's obviously the biggest scenic landmark in the
Yeah.
city, but anything like aesthetically changing is kind of what we're.
Oh, yeah.
No? Okay, we'll move to comments from the public, if there are any. Charles Nye, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, I have to do that. Charles, are you there? Something wrong. Okay. Charles, we can't hear you. If you can hear us, we'll come back. We'll go to business session and we'll come back to you if your speaker comes on, feel free to just start talking. I would bet he's gonna ask about the ADA compliance of the bathrooms. That's his usual area of focus. But I think we covered that. Those are gonna be, the restrooms currently they're gonna be ADA compliant after the renovation, correct? Just to confirm.
Right, everything will be fully ADA compliant, and there'll be stuff like a baby changing station, which is required by parks for in all restrooms, but we currently can't fit in existing. We'll be able to include accessible baby changing stations as well.
Great. Okay. Okay, business session. Just a reminder, business session is for only members of the committee to speak unless called upon by the chair. First thoughts? Here.
I just want to commend the boathouse redesign. You know, as a board, we've really valued public restrooms. You guys have done tremendous improvement. You've unified the spaces, you've utilized existing plumbing and made the space efficient, more user-friendly. So just want a very rational design. So just want to acknowledge that.
It's a great call out. Just a question I probably should have asked before. What is the net increase in the number of bathrooms?
Sorry, I should have been more specific. So there's basically going to be 2 additional sinks in both men's and women's. So there's currently only 1 sink, so there'll be 3 sinks in each. And then there'll be 3 additional stalls for the women's room. So that's doubling the number of stalls. And for the men's room, there'll be an additional stall and an additional urinal. And then, of course, there'll be a family restroom. So overall, there's 6 new toilet fixtures, toilet/urinal fixtures, and 5 new sinks.
Terrific. That's great news.
So would you be able to come back to us at a later time? Just to kind of give us a diagram of the changes and how many, like, you know, where the additional benches would be, and how many benches you would add. And I'm not sure that was in your presentation, was the ADA bathroom in the presentation? I kind of like missed it because I know you mentioned that you're taking away the boiler room, you're going all electric, which creates more space for the ADA compliance, right? And I think that there is also a pathway that goes to 76th Street. There's got like a little bit like 2 steps. It goes up the hill and then there's like a step and then it goes up further and there's a few more steps. So where would the ramps be? I mean, I don't think I saw that in the presentation unless I missed something.
Yeah, it was in the plan. We could show that again.
Yeah, can you please?
Diane, could you point, so the path that's coming in from 76th Street, it goes down toward the south, toward the basin. That path currently has no steps in it. But portions of it are too steep to meet the accessibility requirements per ADA.
The grade,
So
the grade.
yes, the grade.
Okay.
So in the areas that we're showing as purple, those will be with handrails and landings. They will be accessible ramps like the photo we showed.
Mhm.
It will just be changed with the grading will be changed and modified there. That creates access from 76th Street down into the site. And then all the other blue lines that you see going around the basin and up into the terrace represent accessible routes. So the facility will be completely accessible. And as I mentioned before, when we come back and we'll be working on the remainder of the landscape up to the west, which is the top of the page by Hans Christian Andersen. We intend to create another accessible route into the site.
Mhm.
Does that
And-
answer your question?
Yes, and as far as the benches, if when you add them, are they gonna be the
Oh.
same as the current benches that are there now?
So I'm not sure if that we're able to add benches. The benches are are completely, Diane, if you want to go to the plan for a second. When I was talking about changing benches, I was just talking about changing the style.
Yeah,
So
style.
you can see, Diane, if you could point, all these benches around the perimeter are essentially replacing existing. So we have maxed out the number of benches that we can get in there because we have to accommodate lighting and we also have to accommodate wheelchair access into those benches. I believe we are adding some benches on the actual terrace itself, but the ones on the
Mhm.
perimeter are really maxed out and kind of we can get you numbers on whether we're actually adding any, but we certainly aren't
Right.
subtracting any.
It's a good spot. We would just like to
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
want.
we'll consider any locations where we can, adding benches that where an opportunity exists, we'll definitely consider it.
Like we want to preserve the area on this committee, but at the same time, looking further as there are more people that are going to be living in New York and in the area, we would like to see maybe that more people would enjoy the location, and
Understood.
especially like the ADA,
Understood, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, back to business session. Tony.
I love that they're maintaining all the original materials that they can. Everything luckily is in good shape, the copper roof and all of that. But everything else they're pretty much maintaining. Anything new that they're adding is still in line with the original intent of the designers. Which I think is fantastic. Even the additions themselves, I'm sure are going to appear as if they were all original. They're going to blend right in. The one addition that's going to get rid of the clutter behind the concession will be a big help. I know that's something I always notice, kind of a big mess on the side over there. I think trying to hide all of that stuff within what's going to end up being a bigger building is definitely a nice change and very appropriate. But more so, the green roofs, I think, are an amazing idea. We're in the middle of Central Park, so I think that that's a fantastic idea. And everything is going to just appear to be, I feel like it's going to appear all natural and all original to anybody who's walking by for the first time. It's going to feel like it's always been this way. And that's exactly the goal, I think, when we see these kinds of changes. I think it's a great application.
Terrific. That was a great comments. Anyone? Go on. Of
I raise a point of order, please.
course.
I'll keep it quick. Can we just advise members of the board to seek recognition through the chair when addressing applicants?
It's a good reminder. It's a good
Yeah,
reminder for all
I
of
gotta
us.
remind myself that.
Thoughts? And I'll make it easier. Does anyone have a thought that they would not approve this proposal? Okay. Someone make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
Okay. Eugene,
Yes, in favor.
yes. John Klein,
Yes.
I am a yes. John Harris.
Yes.
Milan,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
and Tony.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Many thanks to the Central Park Conservancy. You guys do a great job. I went through a long walk through the park yesterday. It looks terrific. Thank you again for the time and efforts as always.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your comments. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll now move to 1181 Broadway. I believe most, if not all, the team is in the room.
Nathaniel is a.
Yeah.
Presentation.
Yeah.
You can come to the front, that would be easy.
I'm in the Zoom.
Okay. You need me to approve you to share your screen or can you? Yes.
Well, thank you for having us. My name is Sarah Scher and I'm from Higgins Quays Bartlett Partners, and we are the historic preservation consultants on the project, and joined by David Bench from Bench Architecture, and together we are going to present a very exciting proposal for an office to residential conversion at 1181 Broadway. Alf Naiman from Ownership is also here and will be available to answer any questions at the end of the presentation.
Still not able to.
Is it Riley or?
Nathaniel, we use there.
Oh, you're.
Okay, I'm good.
Yes, hello, can you hear me? Okay. Hello there.
Yes, hi, Charles.
Good, you can hear me, yes. Thank you for making me panelist. I'll make my comment, well, the questions are, unfortunately, the Central Park people already left, but I just wanted to, I'll turn it into a comment instead. I'm a blind resident, unfortunately. Central Park is not accessible to me. So even though their presentation said they're thinking about accessibility for all, which is admirable, and I'm really happy that they're making those changes. At the moment, it's only going to benefit people in wheelchairs. I'm not able to navigate that park on my own, unassisted, and it's hard to get assistance to enjoy that park. And maybe if they implemented some sort of tactile strips along the paths, that might be helpful for me to use my cane to navigate the park. There's also a company called Aira. It's AIRA.io, which has visual interpreters that have access to a blind person's iPhone. In fact, they have a free service at JFK Airport and LaGuardia, also in Target and some banks in the city. And it would be great if Central Park might consider working with Aira to have a free location for blind people and visually impaired people to use, so that they can navigate the park with a visual interpreter assistant from that company called Aira. So just wrapping up, like I said, it's really unfortunate because I can't enjoy Shakespeare in the park. I can't enjoy events at the band shell or different festivals and things that go on in the park because I simply can't navigate that great expanse. There's not even any designated accessorized stops there either. So we're in 2026 and it's really unfortunate that still blind people cannot enjoy that park like everyone else independently. So I don't know if you guys could reach out to them now they left and maybe pass on my comments. That'd be really great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure that the office watches the video and listens to your comments and passes them on to Central Park. Sorry for the technical difficulties before, but those are great comments. Where you're not the only one that has these challenges, so we appreciate you speaking on their behalf. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Daniel, are you?
So, so 1181 Broadway, you're probably all familiar with, is located on the southwest corner of West 28th Street. Broadway, located in the Madison Square Park Historic District. So as I mentioned, we're here to propose an office residential conversion to the property that was made possible because of the recent Midtown South rezoning that was approved by City Council this summer, which I'm sure you're all familiar with as well. This allows a large swath area to be used for residential purposes now, including 1181 Broadway, but also some property in FAR of 18. And with this conversion, we also see that the city is anticipating a lot of change around the site. So 1181 Broadway, seen here highlighted, this map axon that was developed by the Department of City Planning anticipates a large tower to go directly west of 1181 Broadway, and also within the historic district anticipating 195-foot site to the south where the two non-contributing buildings are located. So here we have the designation photo of 1181 Broadway, an existing condition photo, and the proposed rendering. So when a historic building is adaptively reused for a new purpose, it's really an opportunity to re-envision what the site could be. And this often includes a combination of restorative work, which there's extensive restorative work proposed here, as well as some modifications. So as part of this re-envisioning, we're bringing back a historic size and storefront, but relocating the main entrance from Broadway to West 28th Street. The cast iron terracotta limestone brick facade restored, bring it back to its former glory. All new windows throughout the facade, and then a rooftop addition to serve the use. So we'll look at that in detail as we go through the demo side. So the building was constructed between 1895 and 1896 for Charles Baldwin, who was a successful cabinet maker and developer. This was a speculative office development. It was designed by architect Alfred Suffer. As you see from the 1912 map, it was one of the first commercial office buildings in the area when it was developed. This was still a theater area, a hotel area, and a loft building area where the music publishing industry was very active. And since that 1910s photo that we saw in the previous slide, the building has fallen into a bit of disrepair. The storefronts have been completely covered over with cladding and exterior wall down paints. There's a lot of deterioration, brick and terracotta, and the cast iron has lost a lot of paint coverage. And at the top of the building, there's sort of a collection of locations that popped up over time. Next slide. And just looking at those conditions more closely, starting with the base. So this is the current building entrance along Broadway. You see all across Broadway and West 28th Street, there's aluminum cladding that's covering up a lot of historic stone piers, and the storefronts have all been covered up, and there's very bulky exterior hold down. So the goal is to remove all that, give more street residence to the ground floor. Slide. We're looking at the existing conditions in the middle of the building. So this is all cast iron infill that's lost a lot of its paint coverage, so that will all be repainted. You can also see the windows have been inappropriately replaced, and over time with one of the windows that don't quite fit inside the openings. So there's filler panels. There's very bulky jambs, suggesting some panning. So installed over time. As you go up the facade, you have buck brick with terracotta trim, and then the building is topped with this Greco-Roman temple, which is pretty interesting. Slide. And then the roof is very complicated, so they included these two axons to show how it's laid out. So there's the temple at the front, and then there's a bulkhead that's original to the building that's set just behind it, studio skylight that cuts through it, and then a series of bulkheads that sit on top of that and a water tank. You can see the bulkheads at the top where you sit on top of the temple. Slide. And then going to the roof itself, this original part that was called the bulkhead in the DOB filing, it's clad with corrugated metal and it's in quite poor condition. It's very rusted, working. And similarly, that studio skylight, which is also steel, is in poor condition. Next slide. So the original filing drawings for the building from Alfred Zucker had this grander vision for the roof of the building, and this is tied to our appropriateness argument. That Alfred Zucker envisioned that this would actually be topped with a cupola as opposed to the temple. So it implies a grander vision, and it also implies that the temple was not actually meant to be the terminus of the original design. And then this photo from 1910, which is taken from a roof from across the street, shows that the temple has always engaged with other construction. And then as part of the rooftop addition appropriateness context, we're also looking at this building in the context of other late 19th century, early 20th century office development, which often had a street composition and then very complicated massing above that played on the architecture below, but had different volumes and often had frontispieces with construction behind it. And you see that especially at the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. And all of these massings at the top have similar architectural expressions with materiality, fenestration, and pyramids. Next slide. And that type of inspiration was used for a recently approved rooftop addition at 176 Renison Street in Brooklyn, which was also a residential conversion and was historically an office building. Where a new four-story rooftop addition was approved that played on the architecture of the existing building below. So this is the historic building rooftop addition. Next slide. And then two other landmarks approvals that we find relevant in this context is 361 Broadway, also another commercial to residential development where we have a visible rooftop addition that, while contemporary in expression, played on the pure locations of the existing building, also the palette of the existing building. And then 204 Fifth Avenue, located in the same historic district, Massachusetts North Historic District, which was never built, but was this contemporary expression that was visible over 204 Fifth Avenue, and had the same materiality to allow it to blend with. And then this point, I'll pass over to David.
So with that great background, I think that we're very excited to be working on this building. It's got a really interesting position as essentially the gateway to the district. And we really would like to make this shine as it did at the beginning of its time. 1896, which is the year that it was built. It's a very interesting time in architectural history as the skyscraper was being developed. And Louis Sullivan actually had written an essay that year called "The Tall Office Building Artistically Considered." We find this to be like a really relevant time for architectural ideas. It's about trying to understand what was going to be this new commercial development style. And one quote that he had in this essay was, "The skyscraper must be tall, every inch of it. The force and power, altitude must be in it. The glory and pride of exaltation must be in it. It must be every inch of proud and soil." In this essay, this is where people probably know the very common expression, form follows function. This comes from this essay. This is these sort of ideas were percolating. This is a great example of this of this time and place. So he also explained in an essay how these kinds of commercial structures were really built on the model of the column, with a very strong base, shaft, and a capital. So that's how a lot of people designed this time. I think the Ballerine building is a great example of this, especially from Broadway. You can see very clearly the proportions of this are very column-like. Base of the building, there's a commercial retail space. The shaft of the building, very clear articulation, and then the temple on top is a really amazing expression of this concept. The base, shaft, capital. But really just from this vantage alone, so I think we'll get later in the presentation about how very different perspectives on Broadway, which we would really like to respect in the design going forward. This kind of sort of architectural expression, very different from 28th Street, where we see all the arrangements of the accretions over time. And as noted, for the DCP outline, Midtown South has brought an upzoning to this neighborhood, and we're going to see a lot of new development here. So in addition to bringing this building back to its original glory, we'd like to also present it in its context and make it, you know, bring it into the anticipate what's coming. So that's really important point for us as well. So the question here is, what are we doing essentially? We're converting the building from commercial to residential. We're taking out a very tiny elevator, making it handicap accessible, new elevator throughout. There's one single winder stair throughout the building. We're taking that out, replacing it with two. So bringing egress up, ADA compliance, replacing all the windows, restoring all the elements that we can restore, the temple on down. The commercial base is changing a little bit. We have a slightly different configuration, but in spirit, it's bringing back to the original essence. And we are adding one floor of 2,000 square feet to the penthouse. So that's the current proposal. So, as noted, there's currently an abandoned dispensary on the ground floor, and a lot of it is covered. So we've only been able to see a little bit of what remains, but the entablature at the base is still in existence. So we're going to restore that. Piers at the corner are being exposed and being brought back. So this is where we want to end up. So bringing back the awning at the front on Broadway, opening up glass, letting light in, really having a nice open commercial presence at this point. So just in a little bit more detail. Okay. This is the current entrance to the commercial space. We're moving it around as a residential building to 28th Street. So just more retail on Broadway, opening that up. Slide. This is the historic condition. So you can see piers on the far edges, an open glazed corner, lots of glass. A pier here, it's a little bit hard to see behind the subway entrance, but in general, very open, very light, very welcoming. So we're bringing back that spirit. There's an existing awning, which we are expanding across the entire width of Broadway. So making it more retail, more open and more present. So comparison between current and proposed, as noted, we just have single entrance on Broadway for the retail, more centered, whereas currently there's another entrance for the commercial space, so that's coming around. We're entering on this side over here for the residential. So existing pier in the corner, adding another one to flank the residential entrance, but generally wide expanses of glazing at the corner, and very similar to the original conception of the building. Rotated view just on Broadway, so you can see two entrances currently. We just have one now for the retail. Elevation. So we have the current entablature is being brought back. So we have commercial signage on that. We have the awning is noted, lots of glazing, about 12'6" tall, 7-foot wide panels. Existing pier, new residential entrance with canopy.
Feel free on that Zoom, close up. Sorry. Thanks.
Then on Broadway, as noted, single central retail entrance with awning. So one unique section near the subway, we have a 2-foot tall original base, and that's where we're going to be bringing in some fresh air exhaust to the cellar. So those dimensions and that grill was original. We're going to bring that back. This is a section through the residential entrance. So this is a new entrance we're bringing to the building with a single, very simple blade canopy. So not to compete with the awning and the retail space. Excellent. Some of the palette we're looking at, restored limestone, patented aluminum finish. So there'll be metal windows at the ground floor. This is a representation of the grill that we have at the section right by the subway. And then clear glass and an awning. Excellent. So that's what's happening at the ground floor. The shaft of the building, very simple restoration work. New windows. As noted, the cast iron in green is being cleaned, restored, repainted. The terracotta lintels and headers are being restored and replaced as necessary. The brick at the top of the building repointed, and in this portion of the building, it's purely restorative. And then we get to the temple, which we really would like to respect from this perspective. Broadway, we're not changing anything from this vantage. It's all any of our visible changes are all on 28th Street. As noted by Sarah earlier, there was a lot of unique explorations on the rooftop. So the only element that remained in all of these drawings was the temple. So that 3 bays on Broadway, single bay on 28th Street has always been in every drawing, but there was a lot of exploration about what to do with the rest of the building. And it seems very clear that it was never really fully resolved. We can see here the cupola on top of the temple. Various drawings of it, not clear why it was not executed. Excellent. So here it is in plan. Slide. Another example of a different articulation where we have glazed sections next to the temple that took a slightly different configuration as current, but very different than what exists today. Slide. And then another kind of heroic partial colonnade with entablature. The west side of the building is also never executed. Really unique exploration there with different variations of skylight. And so we see that in very strong contrast to what ended up being built here. Some of it intentional, some of it not. But even as noted, some of the bulkhead, strangely, even though it was the original elevator, kind of comes out, emerges out of the temple in a very strange way. And this door, you could even see all the way down Broadway. So not really the nicest setup. Next slide. So our position is that some of the materials used far less consequential and substantive than the rest of the building. And in general, the way that the explorations and design, the way that this was built really seemed like a lack of resolution besides the temple. Current condition, the 11th floor in which the temple is currently located at the left side of the drawing, about 14 feet tall on the inside. There's a step in section on that level where there's 2 floors inside here, so 11 and 12. So although it's on the same floor level, it's a split, so you see that articulation of the facade. Here is the view looking south on Broadway. And you can see that's the door pointed out on the bulkhead. Next slide. So here's what we're looking to propose. left is existing, right is proposed. Our goal is to create a dignified and more substantial backdrop for the temple. So we have added one floor, which you can see on top. We're taking the articulation and the opening rhythm, base of the building, extending it up. Same thing, the color and the texture of the addition. We're proposing cast stone on these levels, so that in the end, there's like a sort of a complete composition that the temple fits into. We're stepping back in volume so that the temple breathes a little bit from the adjacent volume. And then we're taking any of the mechanical equipment, the bulkhead, stair, elevator elements. They're coming back as far in the southwest corner as possible. So this is clearly an elevation drawing, but this is not a vantage which you really get from any places unless you were hovering up looking at it. So this is stepping back, and almost none of it is visible on the street. But so some of the details that we're taking, the sort of banding around the temple, we're extending around as rhythm around the top of the second level of the 12th floor. The acroteria that exists on the pediment and the temple, we're extending up onto the top level so we can complete the building. And then some of the window openings, we have the same height continuing on the penthouse as well. As you can see on the left-hand side, these are all of the aggregations on the rooftop, and we pulled them all back, so all of the core elements are as far away and as possible. Actually, if we go back one other point, you can see this is essentially the volume of the temple. See how it's kind of cut, and we've pulled everything away from it. So the temple now remains like free and open. It's pulled, like all the other massing is pulled away. So again, some of the same palette, but it's cast stone predominantly on the top, and then restored limestone brick. So now looking at visibility studies, as noted, we want to be very respectful for this perspective. We really feel strongly that this is the essentially the strongest view of the building. It's really its identity, and you cannot see the addition from this perspective. So if you look over down Broadway over the base of the Ritz-Carlton, you do see a little bit on the right-hand side there. The additional top, but our argument is that we're making a little bit more of a backdrop and extension of the existing building to position this like more dignified. So here again, existing condition on the left, proposed rendering in the center, and we have a mock-up here, which you can see that it's not really visible. So this is across the street looking from the Ritz over left-hand side, existing rendering in the center, and then the mock-up. There's a little bit of orange elements that are matching this articulation here, the extension. Slide. Looking east down 28th Street, the idea is that we're just going to take some of this brick, not change any of the signage that exists there currently. Extend that up, the window openings, no change to that.
Sorry, I know we're not in questions yet, but I have to ask, what is the difference between the mock-up and the proposed? Is that?
Oh, they should be the same. We have added a series of scaffolding and like
Always
flag elements to represent in
Got it.
reality the rendering.
Got
So just to prove that this is like what it
okay.
will be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Looking north on Broadway, we've made a few additional changes. So we're keeping the signage, but we are proposing to add some windows in line with the there's a couple windows in the temple, but they were currently off center. So we have enlarged them, made them the same size as the windows on the Broadway and 28th Street facades. And then we're extending that articulation down. added a couple windows up here, but as for the other secondary facade, just extending the party wall brick up. That's the main change. So in the end, this is the existing building, 28,303 gross square feet. We were proposing to add 2,009 feet to the building. Because the building this district was rezoned, we have the possibility of adding an additional 15 floors on top of this. So the building the extension that we're proposing is relatively modest in comparison to that. And we feel like it's essentially baked in because the building structure can support it. The foundations and all the structure can accommodate this extra floor without any change. So we're in some ways just trying to live up to its potential. So that wraps it up. I think the two most significant things we're doing are maintaining and dignifying the original building with the sort of like column aspect on Broadway, and then opening up the retail and a very welcoming corner, inviting people to the district. So we appreciate your support on this application.
Thank you very much. I think for questions, it makes sense to chop it up into sort of the ground floor, and then we'll tackle the top floor next. So questions on the storefront level? Tony.
The awning, yes, is that a rigid awning?
It would be a fabric awning.
It's not a rollout awning though. There will be a skeleton holding it, okay.
Yes.
Why not more traditional rollout awning like we see in the district, or like what they would have had originally?
You mean like that's
Yeah,
retractable or
the ones that just come out, yeah.
well, maybe we're thinking of the same thing. A framework with fabric on top of it.
Most of the ones that are around don't have a permanent framework
Okay.
up there. The more traditional kinds that just roll out, and usually they're open, they don't roll in and out, but they
Oh,
usually,
you mean that they could go in?
they could, yeah.
Okay, well, we could certainly consider that. It seemed like it was a bit more permanent structure, but
So
happy to consider it.
So, and with the awning, is there a particular reason why you're proposing this awning and not? Is it for a future retail tenant that's in mind already?
Not
Or,
specifically that.
so any future tenant would be using this particular awning, that's why you're incorporating it?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask more questions?
Yeah, cool.
The residential entrance, what you call that, a blade canopy?
Yes.
What's that material going to be?
A metal to match the storefront.
Will there be any other lighting or signage in that area for that entrance?
There is a slight recess. Maybe we can go to share that. Yeah, I think here. So there's an existing pier here. We've introduced this pier. And to make the egress and the entrance work, we have a slight recess here, so there would be any kind of building amenities spilled unless it's set back from the front face on this right here, so like address and things like that.
Lighting as well?
There would be lighting.
Is it coming down from the top, or will something be shining on, like on the signage?
Well, there would be lighting in this space.
Coming down. Then, one more question. Sure. The grills that you're going to bring back, what are the materials for that?
That's metal.
And, painted? At the bronze color?
Patented, so we're looking at like a bronze.
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Similar to Tony's question, at the retail level, is there a signage master plan? Or if not, when whatever retailer comes in, are they gonna have to reapply for whatever signage they want to put?
We are showing here, 16-inch tall, 3/4-inch raised sign set here. So I think that we're trying to get this approved essentially as an SPP. But there might be some change to that. That's the.
Yeah, but if, worst case like somebody with like a CVS or something with a bright red sign comes along.
Right.
Wants to blow that up, they were gonna have to get, they're gonna have to apply, reapply.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because currently this is a stone entablature which exists, so we've, exposed, the metal that's covering it right now, it's there intact. We have to restore a little bit of it, but that's meant to be a defining feature.
Got it. Okay. And then do you have a better, like a current view of what the new door is gonna look like? Like a full picture of it?
Oh, this door?
Yeah, I mean, I can see this, obviously, in black and white, I didn't know. If
Right.
it had like a big image. of it.
There's not a detailed rendering of that.
Other questions at ground level? Great.
Perhaps out of scope, but perhaps there's an answer. Any color on the type of apartments or? So,
Would be, their single floor. Because of, with what's 25-50 square foot floor plans, and maybe you take out the info system, it's the stair, 2 stairs. Not that swing, there's really no way to get more than.
so they're floor throughs?
floor.
I have a question.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Gene. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so ultimately the conversion is from full commercial to a mixed use,
That's correct.
and we're gonna have 1 story of commercial on the first floor and 10 stories of 11 stories of mixed use, because you're adding on the additional 2,000 square feet on the top.
That's about right. So there's been discussion about having 2 floors of commercial. So ground floor and second floor is commercial.
So the ground floor and the second floor is commercial, right?
That is the current plan.
Okay, okay. And the mechanicals of the building will be located where?
There is some located in the cellar, hence we had the fresh air intake for a generator. We have a lot of, all the incoming services come into the cellar. And then there is a mechanical closure at the top.
And we're deleting the water tower?
That is correct.
Okay, and is this gonna be a rental building, condo, co-op? What is it gonna be? Condo?
It's not clear for them. Certainly residential.
So you don't know yet. I mean, it might be a residential rental or it might be just a condo
Well, it could
resale.
be, I think, but it hasn't. I think that once we get through the full process, I think we'll know better.
And my final question is, so if we're ending up with roughly about 30,000 square feet in the building, what's the buildable FAR on this, the total? You mentioned something about 15 stories or something like that? Or 15
That was a potential. So it's an 18 FAR district, and there's certainly setbacks. What we've proposed is a single story addition to what exists now. And the outline that we had made is that one could conceivably add 15 additional stories to that. They're not full lot coverage, because 2550 is a square foot of the lot, but whenever you have setbacks on both sides, you can only, bear a portion of that.
So roughly you have roughly about another 20,000 FAR left after you finish this.
Yeah, there's a fair amount. I don't know what's left on the table. If that's the
Is-
question, but certainly
Can that
get
be,
to-
can that be sold to the adjacent properties and used?
It could be, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, any more storefront level questions? No, okay, we'll go to the roof. Anyone starting rooftop questions? John?
Yeah, just a general question regarding top floor.
Yes.
Could you just clarify for me, when you were talking about visibility, are you saying that the additions are not materially visible, an increase in visibility, or are you saying that they are visible, but they are more visible but appropriate and an improvement? I was just a little unclear on what your argument is.
Right.
For the
I
top
think
floor.
it's a little bit of both. It depends on which angle you're taking. So for instance, we find this to be the, primary facade of a building. the view of, Broadway.
Right,
And you cannot see the building on Broadway.
Right.
So that was one of the main things we were striving for in the design. This is like, whenever we think of this building, this is our, image of it. A very thin, narrow building, very tall and elegant, and that remains.
and that entrance is. That's the commercial entrance, right?
This is the commercial
Okay,
entrance
gotcha.
on Broadway.
All right,
correct.
got it, okay.
Yes. And then as you come
I'm
around,
referring to more of the side one. You
right,
can
right.
show the other
The
picture.
side one, yes.
Um,
Um,
there's one like this, you can see a huge structure. I'm not talking about the markups, but either rendering, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
It almost looks like there's another whole building. On the top,
Well, I
on
think
the
that-
right side, so I guess I just wanted to know your argument, are you saying, from a distance, that's not, but. That's not a significant increase in visibility, or are you saying, yes, it is visible,
Yes.
but it's appropriate and an improvement?
In that case, you're right. So from this, vantage, currently you can see the temple with like the part of the elevator bulkhead sticking out of it. You can see like 4 other agglomerations on the roof, which we feel like, as outlined at the beginning of the presentation, not really an intentional kind of composition. So we're finding this to be a much more intentional composition, especially considering adjacent to the building, there's likely to be a 385-foot tall building. So we want to make some sort of accommodation for the temple not to be just this tiny piece of the corner of the building, overwhelmed by even what's in the foreground here. You can't see the full 40 stories of the Ritz-Carlton across the street.
I'll just add, I mean, that was, I had that slide of other commercial buildings from the late 19th or early 20th century. We often see this type of massing at the tops of those buildings. So the appropriateness argument is also rooted in the context of other commercial masonry, commercial buildings of the same generation. And I'll also note that this view, if you go visit the mock-up, is only this visible from 29th to 30th Street, and the Ritz blocks the view looking south for the rest of the way. So it's just a moment in time where you're seeing it elevationally, but it is related to the architecture of the existing, which is common for commercial buildings of this generation that have massing.
And one follow-up, your choice of color on the top, the roof and the. color.
Right, it's related to the historic building. The color is meant to blend in with the limestone, the terracotta, the buff brick. That's the idea.
Is it an exact match or does it looks like a?
Well, it's gonna be a
contrast?
cast stone, and that
Okay.
cast stone is gonna be taken directly from the color of the building. So you can just color match. So once we start cleaning it, we're gonna know exactly the color to apply.
Thank you.
Can you talk about any lighting that's going to be at the top level, whether in the temple itself or uplighting on the newer facade?
I think the idea would be really on the temple primarily, and then the rest of the rooftop would be not, not a.
So
There would be some like sort of indirect from the interior, which we could control, but
so you're planning lighting for the temple itself?
exterior,
Can you talk about where?
like uplighting.
Okay, so
From the
not
base.
visible from the
Correct.
street
No, not visible.
and only essentially for the temple portion
Correct,
on both facades?
correct.
Thank you.
What, just out of curiosity, what is the temple gonna be used for? Is it gonna be like part of the penthouse, or is it gonna be the inside of it? or
It is
it just
currently an
like-
interior space.
Okay.
That is correct. So that does not change.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then with the addition being cast stone, different from the rest of the building, is that gonna have different weathering patterns over time? Like, is the color gonna drastically shift as the stone ages or weathers?
Well, there's different materials currently. So we have, limestone and brick and terracotta, all and cast iron actually, all, kind of doing their own thing. All of this rooftop that is separate from the temple is not in the same plane as anything else. It's all set back. And so, there's a little bit of articulation there in the rendering, but that is kind of intentional. It's not like it is smack dab, flush. So I think that any distinct weathering would look very natural.
Yeah, and then Was there any consideration to kind of following some of the same like ornamentation that happens in the rest of the building, throughout the rest of the facade with the new extension to continue to kind of
Oh,
like bring some
certainly.
of that style?
Yeah.
in?
Yes, you see the elements on the corner. Here, I think that was mentioned in a prior slide. So that. Here. So we were working very hard about making both the mass of the building adjacent to temple, it's set back. And so how does that actually kind of resolve itself? We have this banding of the pediment wrapping around, and that turns into the band at the top of that 12th floor. And then we have these acrotopia elements, the corner of the pediments here, and we've added those to the top floor. So we really want this sort of termination to be consistent across the entire room. There's lintel bands that exist on some of the window openings, and so we've added those as well as like slight articulation in the top levels. So a different form, but very similar. It's meant to be kind of like a clearly distinct new element, but very respectful.
Could you talk a little bit about what's there on the roof at the moment again? And I know we talked about it during your presentation, but just to make sure it's clear. Are those original elements, or was it just sort of a patchwork of things that were added over time?
It's not entirely clear, to be honest. Like here is a elevator bulkhead. Here is a stair bulkhead.
So for those bulkheads, were they built at the time the building was built, or was it?
Based on the historic documentation, my understanding is that this part is original.
Yep.
To the building. And I think maybe so it's been clad over. So, but then I didn't see those other bulkheads in any of the original drawings or in any of those photos of the building that are taken from adjacent roofs.
Got it. Obviously
that-
not the water tower.
That matches the original, right, drawings. So, water tower, there's a freight elevator, freight bulkhead, passenger, and stair bulkhead. And long stair leading chimney.
Get a lot in a small footprint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. In terms of, could you go back to the image that you showed of the flip side of the building with the original kind of retail signage? Where you're gonna add a row of windows?
A photograph, like this one?
No, it's mock-up photos. It was one of the later photos.
Oh.
Yeah.
On Broadway. This one?
Yep, that's the one.
Yep.
So you're taking away windows kind of towards the back.
Here, that is
Yeah,
correct.
and then adding 2 windows towards the front.
That is correct. Yes.
Is that just to allow for the kind of schematic of what the apartments are gonna look like, or what's the thought behind?
Well, so it's a little bit hard to tell from this image, but the temple has a sort of like general volume. And these windows are relatively narrow and they're off center with the peak. And so what we've done is we've widened them and made them more central. And then taken them down the facade. Just to make that space in the front of the building like more open on 3 sides.
Got it. And so if I were to walk onto one of those floors now, that would just be a wall.
That is
And
correct.
you're just gonna make windows just to lighten it up.
That is correct.
Okay.
And right now, as noted, we're stepping up a little bit here because we have all of the core elements back to the core. So stair and elevator. So that would be blocked by the stair.
Got it. So what's that row of windows now? Is that just like a window on the floor somewhere?
That is correct. There's like a little bathroom.
Got it. Okay.
The elevator currently, and that's what's maybe a little bit hard to understand about this building, it's really a small footprint.
Yeah.
The elevator is like this deep. It's about 30 inches.
Right.
So you really have to like slide in. And so by bringing this building up to code, adding 2 stairs, adding an ADA compliant elevator with stretcher.
Yeah.
It's like you're using up a lot of the footprint. So the 2,000 square feet that we're adding on top is essentially being taken away by the core that we're putting into the building. So we're trying to be smart about it, but of course, this is a balance.
Right. On that, clearly the Halcyon Realty was not part of the original building.
Correct.
Do you know about what time period that was added?
I would just be guessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any thought about just removing that entirely?
Well, there's a certain kind of character to this as like a commercial building that, we're not really taking a position to change it. I think that, we're focused on what we can to like improve, and we feel like it's an interesting part of the building.
Right.
It's a strong desire to do something with it. I mean, I'm sure you would listen to it, but.
Right, okay. The schematic that you showed of the potential buildings that are going in nearby,
Yeah.
are those actual buildings that are proposed and coming?
From what we
Is that just
understand,
theoretical?
that is, there are things happening, yes.
There's things happening, but that's not the design.
That's not the design, yeah, there's it's completely hypothetical based on DCP's documentation. So what we're trying to do is just visually represent what the city has already represented to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think that this is a little bit abstract, and our building is here. That may, it's hard to tell, but the Ritz is already across the street, which is, quite tall. And it's not just gonna be across the street, it's gonna be essentially surrounded. So I think we just need to be mindful that it's like, although this building was the tallest building in the area when it was built, it is far from that at the
Sure.
moment. We really want to dignify it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, give it more presence.
I mean, it's. We recently saw an application from Steinway. Studios, which sits at the base of Central Park Tower, so it's an extreme version of what you're talking about.
Yes.
One last one for me, you mentioned the potential for the floor area ratio to add another 15 stories up further. Is the addition on the penthouse, what you're proposing now, going to prevent that from ever happening? Or would it theoretically be possible to build on top of what you're
You
doing?
could conceivably do that, but we are limiting ourselves both to, I think, what we feel like is appropriate, but also what the foundation can support without any change. So it's like, this is sort of inherent until the building's DNA. We're just sort of like hitting its, normal potential, let's say. And if someone were to come back, they would have to do a lot of work to do something else. So in a sense, we're kind of, this is kind of it for the building.
Got it. Okay. More questions on the roof?
Is the middle included, just because you're asking?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, but it's a free for all.
All right, along the lines of the windows, if you're anticipating future growth nearby, why add so many windows on a lot line facade?
Well, the south side, that is still in the landmark district, and so there's really no guarantee, hence it's like relatively abstractly represented here.
Right.
To the west, I would bet money that that's gonna happen. To the south, less so.
Yep.
Right above the retail level on both Broadway and 28th Street, there are some like late 80s, early 90s era lighting pieces. They're gigantic, and it looks like they're still in your proposed version. Are you keeping those?
No.
It looks like up lighting for the building.
Yeah.
No.
Well, look, yeah, they're like floodlights.
Yeah, they're massive.
Yeah, no.
Because I did see what looks like something right in that center column.
That's.
Just left over.
Can clear that up.
So no other
No.
lighting
No.
on the facade. Okay, I thought I had one more, Kevin. Regarding the windows, are any of the windows original or have they all been replaced to aluminum already?
There are some original windows only on the second floor and seventh floor. Everything else has been.
Are they double hung?
Double.
The original ones, are they wood?
Wood double.
And you're replacing everything to what?
Right now, we're looking at wood, fixed, top sash, and then tilt turn bottom sash, which essentially reduces both like the section and the elevation profile.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
It's just triple paint.
Triple paint,
Yeah.
yes.
Cloud for energy.
Energy.
One more, I think John asked this before, but I must have missed it. The penthouse structure, is the material gonna be the same as the rest of the building?
It's cast stone. So that has a little bit more like, controllability, so we know the weight and, it's not like a variable natural material. It's something that's going to be color matched the base of the building. And that's what's, so it's gonna be very, harmonious with this extension. What's there. So,
Okay. Last shot for questions. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to members of the public. If anyone's out there, raise your hand now. Don't see anyone. So business session. Just a reminder, business sessions when the committee will debate the merits of the resolution of the application and come up with a potential resolution. Initial thoughts? There's a lot going on here.
I mean, it goes without saying it's a very thorough application. I think it'll be from a design and aesthetics perspective, an improvement to the neighborhood. There's a lot of visual noise and clutter, especially at retail level. If you walk up and down those streets, you see the Ritz as mentioned, even the Virgin Hotel. I mean, they're trying to keep it as it is. The use of materials, the patented aluminum. I think it's going to be really nice, and it's very thoughtful. And you guys have taught us a lot about the history, so I think you're taking it as far as you can. So, which we appreciate. Thank you. So,
I would like to echo on that, and I also want to add to that it's a well thought out project, given the limited footprint of the building, and they are improving the anarchy of what's happening on the roof and making it ADA compliant by making a bigger elevator that would fit a stretcher. And I think you guys did a terrific job, and I'll be voting in favor.
Great.
Yeah, it's a great application. Very happy to support it.
Great. Chuck.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great app. I mean, it's cool to see it be presented with such care and attention to trying to restore it back to its original. And I think my minor note is just the top does look very modern. The new addition does look very modern. And I think the color and some of the architectural decisions are trying to make it look compatible with the rest of the buildings. I don't know if it's managed with that, but it is fun. This building does have a lot of nice, interesting detail throughout at every level of the equipment. Cool to see some of that echoed in some of the stonework and stuff on the side, but
yeah,
definitely not a big concern by any means.
I agree with all these thoughts. They're doing a great job. I mean, Higgins Quaysworth always is very, very thorough in their analysis and their suggestions and being aware of what LPC likes to see and what the district deserves. So I think overall, it's a great job. I would caution against lighting. Actually, the building to the south of them, I forget the address they go by on the northwest corner of 27th with all the bays. We found that they went a little crazier with lighting. And it's pretty intense. I mean, it's a beautiful building, but it is bright lighting on that. So, and we've seen that on a couple other buildings too. So I would just suggest, just being aware of lighting, keeping it soft, but it is nice to highlight these beautiful buildings. And even maintaining the realty sign, the ghost sign. We'd love to see these old signs in the district. And it was, I believe it was 2 and 2 Fifth when we were evaluating some of the Ring portfolio. We encouraged all of those to be maintained as well. They've got the big paintings on theirs. My only concern is the awning. It is big. Just seeing the original photo when I saw the application, it went straight to it. I don't know if it's coloring, if it's striping. It is very big. And I would say, if at all possible, to do something a little simpler that's more in line with what we see in the district, that would be a big benefit to them. because at some point, it is harder to see inside these retail spaces if there's too much coverage. And that is a big awning. It's a big skeletal frame that's going in, and that would be a suggestion that I would encourage them to consider. I don't know if I alone would feel strongly enough to vote against the application. But as a resident and somebody who loves this area and loves this building, I think it would be more appropriate to be slightly smaller with an awning design.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just from my thoughts, I thought that the awning stood out to me as well, and I was gonna ask about the size, but you know, the overall dramatic improvement of the ground floor in general seems to kind of overweigh my thoughts about the awning, but I agree. I mean, the big stripes are a little much for the area, but again, you know, compared to what it is now, it's such a dramatic improvement. You know, my thoughts on the roof, it obviously looks better visually. You know, my only concern is setting a precedent and allowing them to, you know, because of the rezoning, clearly they can build as high as they want. It's not, you know, we can't stop them there, but you know, just from a landmark perspective, you know, allowing anyone to suddenly add a penthouse to the top of their building just to kind of add to it gives me pause in terms of setting a precedent. But offsetting that is just what it looks like now is so terrible. I mean, you know, just the patchwork of it's a hot mess up there. I mean, so, you know, I almost want to write the resolution in the sense of like, you know, we're allowing the creation of this of the penthouse structure just because the existing structures on top of the roof are not original to the building, and they're so aesthetically unappealing. It's just such an obvious benefit that we're overlooking the addition of the penthouse. Just saying, like we're calling this a special situation, so to speak. Not just so it doesn't open up a blanket sort of like, well, you guys approved the penthouse over here at 1181 Broadway, like why can't we get one too? Like, you know, that would be my only concern. I don't know if anyone else shares that concern or if that's just me being paranoid.
I think I agree with you, Kevin.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be paranoid at all. But if they decided to like add or foundation structure and decide to, you know, send
Go
it
either.
higher.
Yeah.
That's the flip side. So I'm actually thankful, happy.
Stop there.
They're staying, and maybe there's another real estate transaction in your future. You know, but
Right.
Can I comment on that? So just because they have the ability to build that, the FAR is there.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, LPC would never approve a 15-story, 14-story addition to such a small structure. It always comes down to appropriateness. Right, something like that would never be appropriate.
There's
to a
difference
structure
between the
that's-
zoning
Right.
code of landmark.
Right, it's like how churches are selling their air rights because they can't build as much volume as they can, right? And just because they have it. So yes, they're building what's, I think in their minds, and I think it sounds like in our minds too, what is appropriate for the existing landmark. And yes, they'll probably make a little money on what's left over later on and you know, that's up to them. But yeah, that wouldn't be a possibility to do that extreme.
Okay.
You know, the reason I asked the question originally was getting comfortable with the addition on the top because it is significant.
Yeah.
When I asked the question, you know, did they view it significant, and if so, why? You suggested visibility. I guess a carve out in the resolution, you could also argue that it's not visible from the front, from the traditional side of the building, and that there will be other buildings likely that we haven't seen blueprints yet that will be higher. And therefore the visibility issue is less of a material issue than it would normally be for penthouse addition.
That's a good point. So it's not visible at all from the front.
Right.
And from the side, it's, you can see it obviously, but looks meaningfully better than what.
Right.
You know, the
Yeah, I
jumbo
think that's the
stuff
argument,
that's there.
that's the argument you have to make. And there'll be additional buildings.
Right, eventually,
Around it,
yeah,
eventually.
that's it, yeah.
So. But it is, we shouldn't fool ourselves, it is significant. It is.
Yeah, it
significant
is a
addition.
meaningful sightline change
Yeah.
from the side, but
Right.
in this case, it makes it look.
Right.
look better. Okay. Final closing thoughts, concerns, or someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
1 second, hold on. I'll make a motion to approve with Kevin's language in respect to the top, where we're
Yeah.
approving the additional 2,000 square feet because of all the additions and all the out of character build out that took place on the roof.
was that the motion at the second?
That was the
We'll say
motion.
that was the motion.
That was the
Anyone have a second? Second. Okay. Gene, I assume you're a yes? to
I'm a
your
yes.
motion?
I'm a yes.
John, fine.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a yes. John Harris.
Yes.
Milan.
Yes.
Trump,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Tony.
Yes.
Unanimous, great. Thank you, everyone, very great, and thank you. You had a lot going on there, so that was a great job explaining everything, and, so the resolution passed here, but the final vote will come at the next full board meeting, and then the vote on that will be the final word of Manhattan Community Board. You're welcome to attend and, speak during the public session if you would like, but it's not required. If you get it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the final presentation is. West East 21st Street. Okay. Guys online?
How you doing?
Oh, great.
My name is Gotti. I work for Rambo Studio. We're here to address an LPC violation. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Actually, Guy, before you get started, let me give the committee a little background. Just so this is a little bit different than our normal resolution in the sense that this was something that was done to the property without going through the normal resolution application process. A violation was filed, so this is an application to get a retroactive approval for.
Yep. So basically, we're trying to legalize the existing conditions. I just want to note there are other violations that the building itself is responsible for. What we're addressing here today is the translucent film in the windows, which covers more than 50% of the window area. So this is what the storefront looks like during the day. We're not really a retail, we're not at all a retail store. We're a film studio and photography studio. Controlling light ingress is pretty important to us. We have a lot of really expensive equipment inside, so having kind of a security barrier to keep people outside at night, especially from being able to see what is the equipment in there is pretty important to us. And then on occasion during a shoot, we will have a celebrity presence, so giving them privacy from people outside of the building is pretty important. I have here the historical pictures from the 40s. There wasn't really a great shot of the front, but this is what the building looked like, and it's this building here as well. And then before we rented it, this is from Google Street View from 2008. This is what the storefront looked like. The building had done renovations at the time we rented it. This is what the front of the building looked like, and I know that LPC has some issues with this, but that is the building's responsibility, and I believe they hired a consultant, and they're in the process of dealing with LPC about it right now. So this is what it looks like now. The violation we were given was, the language used was that it was a mirrored film. It's not actually a mirrored film. We're just on the north side of the street. There's a lot of direct sunlight from the south. The glass is pretty thick. It gives it, you know, during midday, kind of a reflective appearance. If you look at it kind of closer to dusk with the lights on inside, you can see it's actually completely translucent. The same thing from the inside. And then, you know, we do a lot of motion control stuff. This is a robot arm that basically holds a camera. We have 3 of them on site. We have, you know, high-speed cameras that are very expensive, put away. As far as the signage, we were issued a violation for the signage, but we can get that approved at staff level with LPC. It takes up less than 20% of the space in the windows for all the signage. Down here, we kind of have a spec sheet for what was installed, the size of everything. This is the exact material that was used, kind of like the company that installed it and graphics. That was kind of their example of how the translucency of it actually is. So ideally, we're just here hoping to get the existing condition legalized. It's kind of necessary to our business operations. We're not a retail storefront. We're not open to the public. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. That's helpful. Questions for the applicant? Jeff?
Yeah, I guess on applications like this in the past, part of the issue is by approving something like this, are we, what sort of, signals are we sending out to market? Are we condoning certain behavior or not? So it's in that context I'm asking these questions. I guess my first question is, could you just clarify who made the change, the current applicant and owner or a previous one?
So the building facade itself was done by the building. The film and the signage was done by us when we moved into the building.
Okay. Then I guess you've answered why you did it. But I guess I'm not understanding why you did it without authorization or permission.
So we had basically interior renovation company come in and set up the space. And this is what they pitched us. We weren't aware that it was an LPC violation. And it had stood this way for several years, 3 years now, before we were issued an LPC violation. So at the time this decision was made, we didn't know that only 50% of the glazing area could be covered by film.
Okay, and how did this violation come to the attention of LPC?
So we are located in Ladies Mile Historic District. I have no idea if they have like scouts going around or something like that. But we were notified by the building that the building had received violations related to the storefront change that they had made, and that we received the violation for the film and signage.
Okay, and if if this violation was not given an exception approved, what would be your alternative solutions to the issue you're trying to address?
I mean,
Visibility.
I'm not sure exactly what we would do. I mean, it's I don't know what we would legally be allowed to do. I don't know if hanging curtains on the inside that cover the entire glazing is allowed by LPC. You know, we're just we're kind of like a small independent film studio. We don't have like a, you know, architecture firm or a consulting firm to tell us exactly what we can and can't do. When we spoke with LPC, you know, they advised that we have a pretty good argument as to why we need this. It's not, you know, this isn't a regular retail space or anything like that. Like this, to our industry, this is having the control of the light and the privacy is pretty important.
So as one last follow-up, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you have not consulted experts in this area as to what your alternatives would be, other than getting the violation sort of sanctioned.
We have
Is that
not.
correct?
We were advised by LPC that once you receive a violation, you can't, you know, we can't just take the film down and replace it with something else and call it good. One way or another, we have to address the violation and leave it as is until the violation is addressed. This is our ideal scenario of addressing it. If you guys don't approve, I suppose we would have to find you know, a legal way to you know, or an LPC approved way to accomplish the same thing. But when I spoke with the staff at the LPC, they didn't, I know it's not their job to offer suggestions, but they hadn't offered any suggestions or anything.
Hey, thank you.
I'm just curious if your space, if your business required so much, well, one, privacy, but two, also just control of the light. I'm curious as to why you chose a retail location versus, say, an office on the second or third floor, more traditional workspace.
So a big thing for us is being on the ground level is a very good selling point, and also our robots don't fit on a lot of elevators. They're pretty big, they're pretty heavy. When we go, if we do a shoot at other studios, usually they have like freight elevators we have to use. Our largest robot, I think, weighs 1,600 pounds that we keep on site, or 1,800 pounds. And it's just large. And the building that we're in has a side door that we use to take it out. It actually doesn't fit out the front doors because of this column right here prevents it. So even though it could fit out through the width of one door, it can't fit between the column and here. But having ground level access, or just having the studio on the ground level, is pretty important to what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, and just one more, Kevin.
Yeah.
And you meant, I was gonna ask you if you use the building entrance, do you use the main entrance of the retail space for, I mean, you said you don't get general customers coming in, but your employees and all of that, are those two front doors used on a daily basis?
Yes, so employees, if we have a shoot at the studio, you know, there's a large amount of crew that comes in with their gear. If they can fit through the front door, that just goes to our space. They'll go through the front door. If not, there's a side door here, and that has a hallway that basically goes into our space. And then the building itself and all the commercial and residential tenants above use the main building entrance on the left.
Thank you. Also.
What would it take? This is a question, I guess, about, you know, the glazing or what's on the window itself. Is it possible to even remove it, or would it involve reinstalling all new glass panes?
So the glaze, it's not, it's just a film applied to the interior of the glazing. The sign is just vinyl on the interior, and then it is backed by that translucent film. So it could theoretically just, you know, should our tenancy ever cease, to restore it to this 2022 condition, you would just peel all of that off of the inside. The glass itself hasn't been altered in any way.
Got it, okay. And is your understanding that if you were forced to remove 50% of it, could you install a curtain or something else kind of to cover the half that's now visible or would be now visible?
So when we were asked earlier about that, that would be my guess as to what we would try to do, is install interior curtains that are basically just closed. I'm not an expert in this. I'm assuming if it was cut at 50%, we'd have the film going through, I guess, 50% of this area. The main concern really would be the doors. Having a curtain behind doors would be pretty strange.
More questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead,
So,
Gene.
who told you to put a film on it again? On the window, on the glass door?
Nobody had. We had a contractor come in, and basically the space when we had rented it had originally been like an interior design firm, I believe. And we basically think I have a floor plan here. We basically remapped we had a contractor come in and redo the interior to make it more, what we needed, like this cyc wall here, which is basically like one of those like photography walls that come down with a curve, so there's no sharp edge at the bottom. It kind of just looks like an infinite wall on camera. Because this is the main shooting area here, the front doors and the front windows basically go directly to it. And the contractor basically went to I don't know if I could get that tab back. Hold on. This is basically what the contractor had proposed. And we weren't told that this could be a violation by the contractor or the subcontracting company and graphics that actually designed this. So it was Kelly Interiors was the company that did the renovation for us. And then in graphics were the people that basically, said the material and made the actual signage graphics.
They never hired an architect to give you any opinion on this.
I don't believe so. I can find out for sure. I wasn't working there at the time. I can speak with my boss, find out exactly, and get back to Isabel if you guys would like to know for sure.
It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation that you guys are going through, because it sounds to me like the contractor didn't properly do their job. As a committee, my opinion is that if somebody violates certain rules and certain
Oh, we'll get to that, Gene, but
Yeah.
we're just taking questions for right now, but yeah. That's a good question. Sure.
Just to maybe make just triple confirm, if you will. So the sole purpose is of the film is just for privacy, because light comes in. It's not for taking better photographs. It's for the privacy for your clientele. Is that correct?
It's for privacy, it's for light control, and it's for the security of our equipment. So the light control is a big deal too. There's certain times of day that the light floods in. If it was completely clear and open, that the light would flood in pretty deep into the studio, and that would mess with the equipment and the lighting inside.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions, we'll go to members of the public. Seeing none, we'll go to business session. First thoughts. Robert.
Yeah, so I like to approach applications without positive attitude. But on this, I don't see any justification to support it at all, frankly. They are in non-compliance with the rules. They didn't, I don't blame the applicant. It doesn't sound like it was their fault, except insofar as they didn't hire the right people. But they haven't looked into informing solutions. They haven't come to, I think it would be a completely different story if they came to us and said, we looked into this. The only option here is to do what they've done. That's the only way we can run our business, but they haven't done that. I can't support this application on the existing record.
Okay. More thoughts, views? Tony.
Going through LPC's guidelines, they are pretty specific on what they're looking for when it does come to film, because it's very clearly covered. It is unfortunate, and as the applicant mentioned, when it did, like today, when I went by, it was a very sunny day. I did think it was mirrored, which it's probably not. But when it's so bright outside, I mean, even in the pictures of his application, you can see reflections and whatnot, and that's also a big no-no for LPC guidelines, aside from the 50% rule and all of that. So even if it is translucent to a degree that's acceptable, what I did notice is that stretch, that center of this building on a really nice block, it's kind of a funny little piece right in front because it's all blacked out. I mean, it looks, whether or not it's translucent, it looks fully blacked out. Their entrance, the way it's set back, I know this thing's not up there anymore, but the way it's set back in the middle, I was almost expecting like, geez, people must be sleeping in there every night or throwing garbage every night. It's a weird blacked out area that, because it's not an open retail space that, extends to the street, it almost invites maybe something not so great for the middle of the block, just because it's just a black canvas. But anyway, as far as a remedy, if they were to do a curtain, which seems to make more sense, as long as it's more than 18 inches from the windows itself on the inside, LPC is going to be fine with it because it's not in their purview anymore. So to do theater drapes, more than 18 inches from the front windows would be a very acceptable solution to what they're looking for light, for privacy. So I think there are solutions that don't make this retail space, one, in violation, but two, kind of dismal.
Gotcha. Well, Sean.
Yeah, I guess my ongoing concern is that the applicant, at least, I'm always asking myself, first of all, is, you know, to what degree was this a mistake made in good faith? You know, is there a moral hazard element here or not? And what troubles me in hearing the answers to the applicant is just sort of an indifference. Well, first of all, I think that he is responsible, the applicant is responsible. I don't think you can put this off on his agents. I mean, ultimately, it's the principal who's responsible for this action. So that was mistake number one. But what concerns me more than that is that they didn't look into what they really could do, what was legally permissible before they came to us. They just said, well, you know, we've been told that this is wrong, so we'll ask, you know, for forgiveness, so to speak, or to have it corrected. I mean, I'm sorry, to be approved, not corrected. So, that's what I'm struggling with, but I think that that's my major concern. Maybe if they had come to us and said, look, we looked into these 5 alternatives and we still believe this alternative, for whatever reason, our particular business, our particular location, warrants having this particular solution. Or the cost would be prohibitive to come up with some other solution, you know, then I would be inclined to approve that, but I haven't heard any evidence of that at all. So I guess I'm inclined not to approve it. As a signal we're sending to applicants.
I mean, I agree with my colleagues. At the same token, I guess I'm a little sympathetic to small business, and you know, they didn't know. It's clear they didn't know. It's clear they didn't look into it, right? I don't know what they would do at the door. I guess you can have panels, you can have the curtains on the sides and have some sort of you know, but yeah, it's a film. It can come down, and I'm sure you can figure something out. But my empathy goes out to them in the sense of, like, this is probably another thing that they have to work through. But those are the rules, and they're set forth. And even though I think on that block there's some colorful signage and whatnot, but that I imagine was approved, like across the street and whatnot. I imagine it was approved. And so if it's north of 50%, and it's pretty straightforward, the contractor didn't let them know. Yeah, I guess it's unfortunate. So that's it.
Yeah, I guess I share that same view where I feel bad because, it probably was not something you would think about researching, I'm in a historic district, I should see if there's rules about what I can put in the windows. But, to Robert, to your point, the law is the law. There's not a whole lot we could do about it if there's a clear violation and seems to be reversible. You just have to take down the 50% of the film. And install a curtain or something. But yeah, I also.
Yeah, if they had done research and said the other solutions are just prohibitive or something, that would be a different story, but we haven't heard any argument. Any counter arguments.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to deny.
Okay, second, okay.
But
Gene,
I'm in favor of the motion to deny.
yes, so you
Yes.
vote yes.
Yes.
John Klein,
Yes.
I'm a yes. John Harris.
Yes.
Milan.
Was a no, but I'm gonna be a yes because I feel like my position is swayed, so yes.
Karen.
I agree with a lot.
Yeah. Robert
Yes.
and Tony.
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion unanimous. Cody, we apologize. Again, we feel bad, we're sensitive to the fact that you probably weren't aware of everything surrounding the laws and, we denied it here, but, LPC is gonna be the ultimate decider and, with some of the comments that were made here, when you go before that application, I would recommend just doing as much research you can about alternatives and, just showing that, you put in a good faith effort of doing due diligence and, why those might or might not be good, alternatives to full, rectification might help your case at LPC. Just some thoughts.
Thank you.
But, thank you for the presentation, John.
Yeah, just more for, is this something that the community board office could help connect them with, or someone that could?
That's a good thought.
Assist.
We'll reach out to the office and have them, Isabel email you and see if they can provide you some resources and thoughts about talking to LPC.
Yeah, that would be great, because I've been speaking with LPC and they never they never informed me that I should seek alternatives to present or argue as to why alternatives wouldn't work. Yeah, so this is my first time going through a process like this. I had no idea what to really expect. Just kind of doing my best as I go.
Right, no, we respect that, and just so you know, the community board vote. We're an advisory body, we're not the final decider, the final decider will be LPC, obviously, so, when you go before them. Definitely do all these things and it'll help argue your case.
Okay, I appreciate the input.
Okay.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate the application.
Have a great night, guys.
You too, thank you. Just last thing on our agenda, new business. Anyone have anything?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go next. That's
Meeting, yeah, go next. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for patience, everybody, on the long meeting. Yeah, thank you. Fortunately, our fourth application and LPC and questions.